So there has been wall-to-wall coverage of the arrest and federal investigation into Diddy. And there have been a number of narratives that have come out around that arrest. One line of stories is around the conditions at the jail where he is held. Another line of stories are around the people who knew or who allegedly knew. You also see people who used to work for him. I'm thinking of his bodyguard who are giving tons and tons of interviews. There are also people who are wondering who are the people who were complicit, who were the people, possibly celebrities, who were in his orbit, who knew what was happening but didn't say anything. But then another storyline is around how the story is being told and who would have told the story in the most effective way and or the most entertaining way. And as part of that line of stories and questioning, which we are seeing in stories, we're also seeing it a ton on social media, is Wendy Williams. And so there have been so many people who have been posting on social media their reaction or their imagination around how Wendy would have covered it. There have been people who have been wondering, or maybe wondering is not the right word, who've been saying, man, I wish that this happened around a time when Wendy could have brought it to us or at least talked about it on her platform. Now, this is not, as I say this is not to minimize the seriousness of these allegations or what the alleged victims, what they went through. I don't want to minimize it at all. But there are a number of people who remember when Wendy Williams issued several remarks and possibly warnings about Diddy. She lost her job, and she talked about that. But then there were other times where, people remember her talking about Diddy and her concerns, her questions. And so for that reason alone, there are people who were saying, man, I really wish that Wendy was in a position to cover this. But also, if you think about her brand, she had this very no-nonsense brand, and no one was off limits, at least no one in Hollywood. She was willing to bring us the news or bring us her perspective on what was happening, regardless of who the person was. And so I think there are people who remember that and who are yearning from that. So it's really, really interesting and surprising. Maybe it's not surprising, but to see the way that people are saying, are bringing her name back into this story and where she is a part of the story, that is so interesting to me. Wendy Williams, again, she covered Hollywood directly, some might say ruthlessly, but she always spilled the tea in a way that her audience wanted to hear. Now, I will admit that I was not always a big Wendy Williams fan because sometimes I felt like she could be harsh. But that does not mean that I don't appreciate the role that she played or I don't recognize her immense gifts, talents, and gifts. But what I'm saying is that her brand is so strong that even though she's been off the air for several years, even though she may not be doing well health-wise, there are people who are like, man, I wish that Wendy was here. How would she have covered this? I've seen so many memes of her notorious chair, on social media. So what this says to me is that when you invest in a brand and when you build your brand and when you are serious about your brand and when you have a reputation of showing up the same way over and over again, people are not going to forget you. People are not going to erase or diminish your legacy. And Wendy was at this year after year after year. And so people came to expect a certain thing from her. And so I share this in some ways to celebrate her and just to acknowledge the strength and the benefits, the strength of her brand, but also the benefits of being consistent and the benefits of building a rapport with your audience, because people have to respect that. Now, through all of her ups and downs, she was loved for how she covered these kinds of stories. So even though she's not in the best health, there are people who will never let her name die. They just won't let it happen. I'm sending this and I'm saying this and I'm wishing her all the best. I'm wishing her a circle of people who will love her, hold her, and do right by her. I'm also wishing her success with, just her future endeavors. And I pray that we will see her again in even a better position than what we saw her before. If you like this content, please be sure to subscribe, leave a positive comment, and you can also share with a friend or colleague.